Okay, back here today with an update of my little garden in the desert, my tiny garden. I used to have 8 beds this size. I'm down to 1 bed this year. So growing what we can, and here's what everything is looking like right before I come out here to water midday, or hottest part of the day. I always water in the hottest part of the day, which is not common wisdom, but I found that for myself, especially here in central Arizona, where we deal with such extreme heat. Although today's not too bad, it's like in the 90s. It seems like the midday, or that hottest part of the day water, seems to be the one that's most essential for keeping plants cool and happy. Cools off their roots, perks them up, and yeah, just sort of keeps them happy through the extreme heat. But here we go, is everything. I'll talk about it in a little bit once I finish watering. And yeah, so basically my little pots here I use as a kind of Olla. I'll link the book down below. I actually haven't even done everything I'm supposed to do to these, and there's a lot more to it than just sticking pots in the ground, I tell you what. But that's all in the book, and I feel like I can't really share all that stuff because somebody took the trouble to research and write a book. So I will link the book down below. But you can see here I filled it yesterday, and then here's where we are. But I have to say the plants are, they seem to be thriving. This is the first year I've ever tried using these. They just really seem to be thriving. I think that this is maintaining a level of moisture in the soil that wouldn't be there with just watering alone. And so I'm very pleased with these. I think these will help the water to stay more consistent, while the little shot at the roots at the hottest part of the day, like I said, is to just sort of cool the plants off. But even if I'm not out here all the time, they are still getting water, and that's kind of the most important thing. And so I'm very happy so far with the way that these pots have been performing for me. But we'll see how it continues during, the absolute hottest part of the year. So anyway, yeah, let me get to actually watering, because even though it's in the 90s, it's pretty hot when the sun is directly overhead. But it's definitely not the hottest it's gonna be. So yay. Vegan prepper. Vegan prepper. Right, so I want to talk about a couple of things that have changed since the last time I filmed. And one of those things is the tomato plant got massive. I was originally not trimming it at all because I was unsure if this variety that I have, it was determinate or indeterminate. It didn't say on the seed packet. It's a white tomato that I got from rareseeds.com. It was like a free gift that they sent one time. So it turns out that it is absolutely an indeterminate tomato. So I went ahead and hacked it back pretty far. If this makes it through summer, I will be able, sorry, I just got bit by an ant. That is definitely part of this thing. Dang, it was a huge ant too. I haven't seen that type in my yard before. Okay, anyway, so sorry, what was I saying? Oh yes, so if this manages to make it through the summer, I will be able to get a crop in fall. And so I haven't gotten a single tomato off of this plant though. And so that's what it's looking like that's what's going to happen at this point. I'm going to have to wait until fall before I can get tomatoes. The reason I'm pretty sure I'm going to go ahead and leave it though is because this is still providing some nice shade to these kale plants during the hottest part of the day. And so this kale plant though has been completely overrun with aphids. It's really not doing well at all. So I'm getting ready to basically strip this entire plant and spray it and hope that it doesn't spread to the other kale plants. And the parsley is looking amazing. I'm thinking I'm going to harvest that pretty soon. My catnip is getting nice and big right there. It's going to get huge. So I can start harvesting that and drying that for teas. Catnip is so good for people too, not just for cats, but It's relaxing. It helps with upper respiratory issues as well. Just go ahead and look up catnip. It's a diaphoretic, if I remember correctly, so it can help gently lower fevers by sweating. Look up catnip, and you know, it's just a great plant to have on hand. This is one of the ones that will grow huge, prolifically with almost no effort in my particular area, in the Phoenix area. Catnip and rosemary. So rosemary and catnip can both get pretty huge, again, with almost no effort, last year round. And so this was actually a volunteer from the last giant bush of catnip I had. I guess there was some seeds in this soil and it came up by itself. And so I left it because I want it. And right here we have brand new popping up some loofah. So that's loofah seedlings. And I normally would just pinch one off, but I think I'm going to actually plant it out a couple of more places. I have 3 spots, one here, one over there. I don't know if you can see the leaves. They're kind of dark, just like right there. And then one kind of over in that little jungle right there. I'm not sure how well that one will do. Once it gets out into the sun, it will probably start doing better. That's just sort of an experiment. And so I have those 3 spots, but I do have these cantaloupe here, and I have to be careful. I don't have my shoes on and the ground is kind of too hot to stand on. So I have a beautiful cantaloupe. This is the one that's doing the best of all of them. One of them randomly died, the one that I had here. I'm not sure what happened there. So I decided to go ahead and plant some loofah. I have one right here behind the catnip that would probably be doing better if the catnip were not shading it. There's just sort of randomly plants that do better not being shaded, and cantaloupe is one of those here. Through the hottest parts of the summer, cantaloupe is just golden. Like, it's just beautiful and it loves the heat. But this cantaloupe, for whatever reason, it sort of just has never really taken off. So I'm going to watch it now that all of the shade that used to cover it from the tomato plant is gone. I'm going to see how well it starts growing. If within a week or so I don't see a massive improvement in size, I'm going to go ahead and pull this plant and then plant one of these loofah seedlings in that spot instead. Then I'll just end up with some more loofah. I have a lot more success with growing loofah than I do with growing zucchini. Loofah grows prolifically. If you let it go all the way, you get loofah sponges. That's my favorite cleaning tool actually in my kitchen, is the loofah that I grow in my own garden. And so I do love having it, but it's also really good when you pick it small. It's kind of like zucchini. And so I can grow loofah vines and get zucchini off of them, essentially, even though obviously it's loofah, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you use it like zucchini. And so it's a great option for me. For whatever reason, like I said, I have never had luck with zucchini. It's like it gets too hot too fast. Other people seem to be able to grow it here, but for whatever reason, I have not yet cracked the code. And so I'll keep trying, but I just didn't this year because I don't really have a lot of space to mess around with. I'm having to make a lot of hard decisions, you know, like I'm going to yank that cantaloupe if it doesn't get big enough, you know, and plant something else there because I just don't have a lot of space to play with. And so, yeah, I'm going to be focusing on the things that do best in the heat and also will yield me the most. But my 2 butternut squash plants are doing absolutely beautiful. And so kind of every day I'm sort of training the vines down. And so my hope is to basically train these 2 butternut squash vines kind of all through this area that I have here, a very large area to this side of the bed. And so this is where I will focus the growth of my butternut squash. And so that's kind of part of it. I will use the bed obviously to grow things, but because I'm focusing on a lot of vining plants, I'll end up using a lot of the space around the bed for those vining plants. And because it's so dry here, I don't have to worry as much as other people about fruit rotting on the ground. So this is kind of my strategy. We'll see if it works. Like I said, thus far, those Oyas are great. So tonight, once it's evening, once we have shade over here, we will go ahead and strip that strip that kale of all of its leaves and try to save it. It might not be savable at this point, but hopefully we can at least get rid of the problem before too many aphids spread everywhere else. We're gonna get out here with some spray, just like neem oil and some water, and I'll probably go ahead and film that later this evening when we get out here. But that's basically the update so far of what is going on in our little tiny desert garden. An update on the grapes. They're beginning to look a bit tired. They're just getting so hot. And so that is definitely what happens. It's like some of it looks exhausted and some of it looks just green and beautiful. So it just sort of goes back and forth, but definitely our grapes are beginning to get to the point where it looks like it's almost time to start picking them. I did pick one yesterday and I tried it. It was seriously the sourest grape I've ever had in my life. But once they start going round, but not only round, they begin to develop a certain amount of translucence is the only way I can think to put it. Like, these are grapes that are very far from ready. They're just like solid. But as they start getting bigger and rounder, they look a little bit more translucent. And so with the green grape varieties, you can't really go by color quite. It's more about when they start seeming almost see-through. So like I said, translucence, I said it a million times. So we've got a lot of them coming in kind of everywhere, and it's chaotic because I've never trained these grapevines, and I really should look up how to do that, and I'm sure I would get even more yields if I treated these grapevines well. But thus far they perform perfectly, just beautifully, even without being treated well, like at all. So this is another plant that is a great one to grow, at least in central Arizona, that just really, like, it just takes a beating and it just keeps going even if you don't know what you're doing, because I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to grapes. But they're growing very well. So anyway, all right, I'm going back inside. I am hot and tired. I'm going to go inside. I'm going to eat some watermelon, and then I will feel just fine, and we'll come back out, like I said, in a little bit and deal with this kale. All right, so kale has been stripped, and we're covering it with a neem and soap spray now. We're just going to do the whole garden. Yeah, so hopefully this guy comes back. Okay, everything is getting covered, and hopefully it means success for us, our little garden in the desert. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed that and got something out of it. If you have any questions or comments or want to share tips for how you like to deal with aphids in your gardens, let me know in the comments down below. And as always, I hope the rest of your day is good and your life stays wonderful. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys in the next one. Bye.